Hello and welcome to another video. Well, this one's going to be a little bit different because something's happening this year in 2026 that I think you should know. And it's all about SIGGRAPH Asia. I love SIGGRAPH Asia. It's one of the top computer graphics conferences, and I regularly contribute to it by submitting and reviewing papers and serving on the papers committee. And I try to attend it every year, or at least send one of my students and fund their travel. The 2026 conference, however, made some big mistakes. This year, SIGGRAPH Asia is going to be in Malaysia, which is not a safe place for some LGBTQ+ members of our community. Malaysia has some strict anti-gay laws and a hostile social environment for some LGBTQ+ people. So-called homosexual acts are punishable by up to 20 years in prison, which may also include public beating with a stick, the practice known as judicial caning. The conference organizers were informed of this problem with Malaysia as soon as the location of the 2026 conference was made public. They claimed they didn't know, and I believe them, and they agreed that it was a mistake. But did they change the location of the conference after that? No. Even after they received an open letter signed by more than 600 members of our community, including some of the top researchers in the field, calling on them to change the location. They decided to keep it in Malaysia, knowing full well that this is not a safe place for some LGBTQ+ travelers. Now, I don't believe that this was in any way a deliberate discrimination attempt, but it is discrimination nonetheless, because you cannot possibly expect some LGBTQ+ members of our community to feel safe attending a conference in Malaysia. I also understand that relocating a conference after the decision was made public is not easy and is probably not cheap. But in the face of such a colossal mistake, one has to bear the cost of fixing it. Now, they failed to fix the mistake and relocate the conference, so now it becomes our responsibility to show that the computer graphics community will not stand for discrimination. Now, let's face it, we don't have a diverse community in computer graphics, not to the extent that we would like anyway. Definitely not in the US. But that does not mean that we do not care about diversity, and that certainly does not mean that we will not show solidarity when any underrepresented group is discriminated against, whether it is intentional or unintentional or careless or ignorant. Now, we wouldn't have to do anything if they only moved the conference, but they didn't. Now, we don't have a choice. We as a community have a responsibility to show where we stand. Otherwise, we become complacent. Because otherwise, an outsider can look at our community and say, oh, look at that, one of their top conferences in Malaysia. I guess they don't care. But we do care, don't we? Fortunately, in this case, acting against discrimination could not possibly be easier. Just do nothing. Don't submit your work to the conference, don't go to the conference. Easy enough for you? Taking a principled stand in the form of doing nothing. If you already have work that you are planning to submit to SIGGRAPH Asia 2026, like me and many of my students and collaborators, there are many other venues you can submit your work to. Like, all journal papers can be directly submitted to ACM Transactions on Graphics, which is the same journal that publishes SIGGRAPH Asia papers and has a similar review process. And once accepted, you'll have the option to present your work at SIGGRAPH or SIGGRAPH Asia 2027. Conference papers can be submitted to specialized conferences like HPG High Performance Graphics for rendering papers, or SCA Symposium on Computer Animation for animation papers. And as a bonus, you may get a journal paper out of these conferences. I'm sure there are alternatives for other types of work as well, and not just papers. We would normally like our work to be associated with SIGGRAPH Asia. But do you really want your work to be presented in Malaysia under these circumstances? Now, there's a deferral policy new for SIGGRAPH Asia 2026. If you have a paper to present, but you cannot attend the conference for quote, verifiable reasons, you can apply for a deferral. Then, if your quote, substantiated safety concerns are approved, you don't have to attend the conference in Malaysia, but you can present your paper at the following SIGGRAPH in 2027. How nice! They will allow you to have a paper in SIGGRAPH Asia 2026 without putting yourself in danger, if only you can convince them that you are personally being discriminated against. I guess what they don't understand is it does not matter whether this discrimination targets you directly. I hear that men with long hair are fine in Malaysia, so I'll probably be alright, especially if I put my hair up and be a bit more discreet about it. And I would have loved to see Malaysia. I hear that it's a beautiful place with rich cultural history and wonderful food. But I don't have a choice. We don't have a choice. Well, I know that some people will use my comments here as an opportunity to highlight problems with other places on Earth. Yes, we are living in an imperfect world. At a time when LGBTQ plus people are being discriminated against all over the world, we have to show that we stand with them and that the computer graphics community will never be complacent in the face of obvious discrimination. If you're worried about the future of SIGGRAPH Asia, don't be. The conference is doing fine. In fact, it has been growing. And we will make up for it at SIGGRAPH Asia 2027, assuming that they don't mess up the location again. And I would definitely love to attend it in 2027 because my issue is not with the conference or even with the people organizing it. But unfortunately, they put us in this bind. I cannot be complacent. And neither can you. If you've already agreed to serve on the SIGGRAPH Asia 2026 committee, you are in a bigger bind. Most of you had nothing to do with any decision regarding the conference location, and you've already made a commitment to serve. It may not be possible for you to back out now, but I'm sure you can find something to do to let us know where you stand. To their credit, SIGGRAPH's executive committee is planning to take some steps to make sure that such a mistake will not be repeated. So some people are trying to do the right thing. But the organization of SIGGRAPH Asia is a little bit convoluted. It's not quite like other academic conferences, and there are players here for whom money is a primary concern. It appears that they're banking on the idea that most people won't care enough. I mean, how many LGBTQ plus people would be attending SIGGRAPH Asia anyway? What's the worst that can happen if none of them show up? The others will still come to the conference, right? Right? I understand that for some of us, skipping the conference this year may not be easy or even possible. After all, we need this conference. But we also need this conference to be organized in a way that does not conflict with our values as a community. Some people seem to think that it's okay to disregard or undermine the clear concerns voiced by our community. And if we go along with it, those people will be vindicated. But more importantly, we as a community will look like we don't care enough about discrimination. Now, if you're someone who believes that LGBTQ plus people should be discriminated against, and don't be offended, there are still people who believe that. In that case, my friend, we'll need to have a longer conversation about why you should accept people's right to have their personal, private lives different from yours. But this is not the channel for that. I'm sure you can find many resources online that can help. We discuss computer graphics here. Now, I'm going to do something that I don't normally do. I'll ask you to please like this video and write a tiny comment so the YouTube algorithm shows it to more people, and the graphics people won't be able to claim, well, I didn't know. And by the way, I read all comments on all my videos. I wish you all a wonderful day and a wonderful 2026, and I hope to see you all at SIGGRAPH Asia 2027, wherever it may be. Well, I don't know if any place on the planet is perfect these days, but hopefully it'll be a relatively safe place for everyone.